Today, for you, I will divulge my precious metal mining stock portfolio. I'll go through the group of stocks by category, and then I'll have a few comments about each one. Let's not waste any more of your time and dig in. All right, let's dig right into this fancy graphic I put together. As you can see, I have a list of all my stocks and investments on the left, broken down by percentage of the total, which at the bottom of the column totals 100%. The bottom three, Nokia, 3M, and Nestle, those are obviously not mining stocks. That makes up about 15%, give or take, of my total stock portfolio. Now, I know I'm heavily invested in precious metal mining stocks, just kind of a macro view of my situation. I do not have any debt whatsoever. So houses, cars, everything, that's all paid for 100%. Then I put a big chunk of money into the precious metal mining stocks. I also have about an equal amount of money in cash, money market, CD, bank account, whatever you want to call it. So I know I'm highly focused in the precious metal mining stocks. However, I feel like from a risk management perspective, I'm okay because under worst case scenarios, between the cash buffer and no debt, we would be okay. So let's dig right in. The first group, the green at the top, are the producers. The smallest of my producers is America's Gold and Silver. Just recently started to put together a position in them. Next, I have one of my biggest positions at almost 24% of my total portfolio. That is Fortuna Silver, one of my favorite companies, recently named my favorite stock pick of the year for 2022. Next is Equinox, another one of my favorites, and was my largest position. I sold some recently on a big run-up. That has been just a great company for me, a great stock over the years. I have, knock on wood, always made money when I've bought Equinox Gold stock. Also, it bears mentioning that if you look down the column to the pink section, those are some small options positions that I hold, the largest of which are some call options on Equinox with a $10 strike price, which expire in January of 2023. So about, 9 or 10 months from now. So that large Equinox options position actually, if you count that notional value, makes Equinox as big or even a little bit bigger than Fortuna. They're all growing producers with a mix of good and challenged jurisdictional risk. And I'll say that all three of those companies are very diverse in terms of their geographically where their mines are located. All three of them have had trouble in Mexico in the last year or two. All three of them have basically seen their issues in Mexico resolved. And, like Equinox has some mines in America, California, Canada, Fortuna's Mexico, Argentina, Peru, and Africa. America's Gold and Silver is Idaho and Mexico. Now, one quick note on Fortuna and Africa. I think Africa is has a bad bias against it. Africa, Western Africa, I think, is becoming one of the better mining jurisdictions in the world from a resource and a richness of the resource perspective. That's undeniable. But the governments there seem to be very pro-mining, and companies are having a lot of success in Africa. So I think Africa might be, if you're getting into a country that's in Africa now, my hope is that you're getting in a little ahead of the curve. But again, all three of those companies generate good, positive free cash flow. America's Gold and Silver is just kind of getting back to that point, but Fortuna and Equinox, especially in the first quarter with this higher gold price, the highest average gold price ever, in the first quarter of 2022. I'm very anxious to see the results from all three of those companies. Inside ownership, Americas and Fortuna, not so great. Equinox has really great inside ownership from a balance sheet perspective. All those companies are very, very healthy. Equinox probably has the most debt, but by no means is their debt level one that is concerning or would indicate that even with a kind of a significantly lower gold price that there would be any risk of them going bankrupt or anything like that. Management quality is outstanding. Obviously, with the exception of America's Gold and Silver, their management's been called into question as of late. But overall, management quality very good at all three of those companies. So my producers are very geographically diverse and probably what most people would say are taking more of a higher level of jurisdictional risk. And that represents 40% of my overall portfolio. But if we move down to the developers, which is about 25% of the portfolio, then we're all in Canada, basically. First Mining Gold has kind of 5 good-sized projects in Canada and 1 massive project, the Springpole project, in Canada. So they are sitting on a ton of gold, and it's all in Canada. The same can be said of Treasury Metals, TSRMF. They're a developer pretty far along the line, and their major project, the Goldland Goliath project, is in Canada also. So I take a lot of jurisdictional risk with my producers, but then when I kind of come down the food chain to the developers, which are generally have more, construction risk, I guess you would say, or getting all the way to development, I take out that jurisdictional risk. With that group, from an inside ownership perspective, both are pretty good. First Mining Gold, I know the CEO, Dan Wilton, has what to him is a very significant portion of his capital invested in the company. Keith Neumeyer also has a big position in First Mining Gold, but what I'm most impressed with is the large position that Dan Wilton has. He's the CEO, and he's put a good chunk of his own money on the line investing in the company. Treasury Metals, Jeremy Wyeth, I know he owns some stock. He kind of took over as CEO a few years ago. I don't think that his position is significant, but I really like him. From a financial statement, balance sheet perspective, both companies are in really great shape with like no debt or very little debt. And I'd say management quality is near the top for both of those companies. Now, let's move down the food chain one more notch to the explorers, the orange section. That represents about 15% of my portfolio. And there, again, I've taken out jurisdictional risk or minimized it with Brixton Metals, who has a large project in Montana and then some huge land holdings up in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia, Canada. And then Fosterville South, who is located in Australia. Brixton, Gary, the CEO, Gary Thompson, he has a large chunk of his own personal money invested in the company, owns a significant number of shares. Neither of those companies have any debt to speak of. They're explorers, so they do equity raises, but there's no real necessarily bankruptcy risk or debt obligations you have to worry about with either of those. Again, the jurisdiction, as I move down the food chain in terms of risk, I'm knocking out the jurisdictional risk. Australia and Canada and USA are considered to be safe places to go exploring for gold and to build gold mines. And then finally, in the pink, those are my option positions. I already talked about Equinox when I, kind of put that notional value with the actual shares that I own. It's probably close to or bigger than anything else. I've got some options in Barrick and in Kinross and some Treasury metal warrants that came along with the spinoff. And then the bottom section, just kind of the other stuff. Nokia is a company I really like. That's one that I have bought recently. Followed them for years. They have a really great CEO, Pekka Lundberg. I don't know his last name, Pekka. But I just am super impressed with the guy and what he's doing at the company. And I think that, data communications and 5G are the wave of the future. And Nokia is no longer a cell phone company. They've always been a leader in the infrastructure side of things, and that's what Nokia does now, is builds out infrastructure. But back to the gold miners again, just kind of gives you an idea of where I'm invested, what my thought process is, and why I'm comfortable kind of being where I am. Again, I am excited to see what the first quarter results are going to look like with Fortuna and Equinox and America's Gold and Silver with these higher metal prices. But to me, it's a balance. Obviously, Fortuna, one of my biggest holdings. I've made videos about them. My favorite stock right now. But First Mining Gold, which kind of comes in second at this point, I'm really comfortable holding them, especially at this low price that they're at, with all of the ounces of gold that they have. And, 3 of their projects they've partnered out, and they are all being drilled and developed. And, to me, it's all in Canada. The gold is all there. It's just a very interesting situation. I think that they've had, the sentiment for gold mining stocks has been crappy. First Mining has stumbled around up until about the last 2 or 3 years, and a lot of people kind of developed a bias against the company. That's just my opinion. So I think they've got like double bad sentiment working against them. And when they do prove, and when they do break free, and I do believe Dan Wilton will do that, that stock will move quickly once it starts to move. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's my portfolio. A lot of you asked questions about it in the comments section of the video, so I wanted to share some details with you. Don't make any investment decisions based upon the information that I just shared with you. Just my opinion. Like I've said many times, I don't have a crystal ball. You're looking at my crystal ball. So bear that in mind as you listen to my comments. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do that right here. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon.